Hey there, my name is AJ Pickett and I make videos about role-playing games and lots of them. I upload twice a week with a live stream every weekend. You can also find me on Subscribestar, Patreon and Discord, Facebook and Twitter. Also, there's an option to join the channel as a member and I welcome any questions you have in the comment section. As always, if you like this video or this channel, hit that like button and subscribe if you would be so kind. Today, a special request from a viewer to cover one of the stranger creatures of the world of Toril, the Alkada, more commonly known as the Wingless Wonder, or a walking egg. A creation of Ed Greenwood himself, so therefore 100% legit realms lore, and a perfect answer to the question, how come Toril is so full of nasty predators? The Alkada is described as a hapless, egg-shaped, stupid, and yet fearless and insatiably curious creature. They are quite ridiculous looking, standing on two rather unsteady legs with rubbery, sticky feet that function a bit like suction cups. The legs have a flexible and knobby knee joint and a less flexible joint that attaches to the pear-shaped body, covered with downy fuzz and delicate, slow-to-heal skin that is a blue-green colour with a purplish undersides. The skin flushes red when the creatures are angry or otherwise very agitated. The reason the creatures have the name Wingless Wonder is because their two arms, which are weak and seemingly on the way to becoming vestigial, constantly flapping up and down to help the creature maintain their balance. They rarely make use of these arms for very much else because the creatures have a mass of tentacles growing out the top of their body, surrounding a somewhat versatile mouth that has the form of a recessed beak that can actually deliver a nasty bite. The 9 tentacles around the mouth range in length from 2 feet to 12 feet long. They can extend and retract these tentacles at will and have a more adhesive quality on the end of the tentacle for about 1 foot of its final length, give or take, which is similar to the sticky pad on the bottom of their feet. Added to this, they can also extend an internal bony hook from inside each tentacle tip and use it to grab prey or defend themselves or to help it climb difficult terrain and such. It's not very formidable, it's more like a big cat claw. There is quite a lot of confusion about how dangerous Wingless Wonders are, and this is because of mages, putting it very simply. We'll talk about that a bit later. These creatures became a popular form of polymorph, or a form to polymorph rivals into against their will, and so it's a significant unknown number of them that are actually far more powerful mages in disguise. In actual fact, the number is as high as 20%. The Alkada are omnivorous and opportunity feeders. They will grab any vegetables and fruits they can find, as well as slurping down earthworms, bugs, bits of carrion. If they're lucky, they might come across a bird or a small mammal, and so on. They'll reach up and grab eggs out of bird nests. They never attack each other, but will eat another Alkada if it's totally dead and has started to decompose. They're ill-equipped for any sort of hunting, as their rather large googly eyes have very poor vision. They have a visual focus range of only about 10 feet in front of them, but can make out things coming at them blurrily, but beyond 100 feet they can't make out much of anything at all. They do have dark vision, but it's no improvement over that sort of focus. They seem to have a draw inside them, irresistibly pulling them towards bright red and brilliant purple colours, plus any flashy glittery objects such as semi-precious stones and precious stones they will pick up and shove in their mouth. They can't actually digest these stones. They do keep some normal stones inside their gullet to help grind up their food, so there's a fair chance that you will find polished gemstones inside the gullet of the Wingless Wonder. They can be found in any area aside from very cold or Arctic zones, and they don't tend to thrive in heavily populated areas, mainly because once somebody finds out that you can find gemstones inside these things, they don't last very long. They're more often found in the wilds of the Underdark and the deep wilderness of the surface world. To reproduce, the Alkada stumble across each other and start making the only sound they are known to make, which is a high-pitched chittering noise. And then they intertwine their tentacles for a while, making intense chitters, each fertilizing each other's eggs. They're hermaphrodites. Wonders' eggs gestate internally for about 6 or 7 months before they're excreted, dropping to the ground and breaking open to reveal a fully developed miniature wonder, which totters around squeaking its little chitters looking for food. The mated wonders may walk around together for a while, but they don't seem to care what happens to their offspring, and they don't have any sort of draw to each other. They just happen to wander in the same direction. It's unknown how long it takes for them to grow to adult size, or just how many hatchlings actually survive to adulthood, since the creatures tend to get killed a lot. They are not strong, but their tentacles are quite agile, giving them a dexterity bonus to the tentacle's armor class whenever an attacker is specifically targeting one of them. It takes at least 7 points of damage to sever one of the tentacles. The tentacles only inflict 1 point of slashing damage each round, but they can grapple targets with an escape DC of 13. While grappled, the beak mouth can also bite, inflicting 2 to 4 piercing damage. I'll go over that again later on in the video. The flesh and skin of the Alkada is poisonous. If consumed, it requires a DC 15 Constitution check, or the victim will suffer from debilitating, wrenching short-term nausea and lose 3d10 hit points, and suffer from the poison condition for 1d4 rounds or half damage and only 1 round of sickness on a successful saving throw. This is enough to protect them from a large number of predatory animals and more than a few monsters. After all, they're only small creatures, 4 feet tall or so, and they've only got no more than 40 hit points, and their armor class is nothing to write home about either, so they're quite vulnerable to purely physical damage. Even though their flesh will naturally regenerate at a rate of 1 hit point per round, their skin doesn't share the same benefit, so you can often track the hapless creatures for miles by a trail of blood from several old wounds torn into it from some recent attack or a tumble. This regeneration won't restore a wonder back to life though. Much more remarkable than that though, the wonders naturally radiate a continuous, close-fitting anti-magic shell that stops all magical attacks inches from their skins. This close and dense aura is visible as a faint purple-white fairy fire-like glow around the wonder that is currently gestating a fertile egg, but at other times there's no sign of the creature's amazing resistance to magic unless you're actually casting spells at them. Wonders just can't be stunned or have their pea-brain minds interfered with by magical or physical means, and seem mentally unaffected by any sort of trauma or disaster in the environment around them. This includes being subdued by non-lethal attacks, which will most likely tear their skin up quite a lot, making them bleed profusely, but their regeneration will just keep them flapping their little arms, waving their tentacles and plodding around, making chittering sounds, so they quite often appear to be totally fearless as they just walk across a battlefield or whatever. Ignoring fire is quite bizarre though. They are completely fireproof, and why they are completely fireproof is anyone's guess, but watching them walk right into a campfire and pick up and chew on the pretty glowing hot coals can be disconcerting. They get weirder still. If they do happen to get fatally wounded, which is a common enough event when they wander too close to a bunch of murder hobos, some sort of a build-up of psychic energy suddenly releases as an unexpected mind blast. Though they don't manifest any other psychic abilities, at least the 9-tentacle variety don't. There are legends of a rarer species, now thought to be totally extinct, that did have other psychic powers. This Death Scream Mind Blast is exactly the same as the Mind Flayer's Mind Blast, except it's not as powerful and obviously it doesn't recharge. The Wingless Wonder magically emits a psychic energy in a 60-foot cone, 5 feet wide at its base and extending out to 20 feet wide. Each creature in that area must succeed on a DC 13 intelligence saving throw or take 2d8 psychic damage and be stunned for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself and on a success. This mental power seems to protect them as a passive psychic effect. If any attempt is made to reach out and communicate mentally with the Alkada, the most you'll get is a brief impression of colourful mental chaos before the mind, a simple mind, just slips away from any further contact. It's unexplainable. Their anti-magic protection also has some strange interactions with the weave of toril, as once per day the wonder, particularly when agitated, will unleash a random minor magical effect, akin to the powers unleashed by a wand of wonder. Such an effect will usually be this at the time of the wonder's choosing while it's agitated or has a reason to, but it can't control exactly what will occur. The magical effect seems to draw power from the same source that powers the anti-magic shell, the aura around it, which then flickers and visibly pulses with that white fairy fire energy. The round in which the magic effect manifests is the only time spells can penetrate the anti-magic shell to affect the wonder itself, although foes of a wonder will have to discover this for themselves. This becomes an extremely important bit of information when we delve into how wizards make special use of the Wingless Wonder. Oh, before we talk about that, the bone hooks on the end of the tentacles can do some real damage to a creature attacking the wonder. Each tentacle inflicts 1 point of slashing damage each round. They are +3 to hit a target, and there are 9 tentacles with a reach of 10 feet. But thankfully, the Alkada only attacks one target at a time, and it always attempts to grapple and restrain the target so it can use its bite attack. It bites the target once and then lets it go. Like I said, they're not predatory species, so this is the extent of their combat ability. Essentially, they're just delivering a nasty warning bite, 2d4 piercing damage. This could pose a real problem in combination with some sort of an effect or creature or environment, with the fight with Alkada taking place and that restraining effect being a real problem. But I leave that up to you. Now, as for wizards, those who encounter a wonder never know if it's merely a curious monstrosity or a helpless victim able to unleash only random magic, small magic, or a disguised magic user able to cast powerful memorized spells. Many wizards from ancient lost Netheril escaped into wonder form when their kingdom fell, using a spell later called Wonder Form, which was later duplicated by drow mages. Such transformed folk can speak normally and work magic while in wonder shape and escape from wonder form at will. As the being's mind is completely shielded from contact, this can be a very effective concealment strategy. However, it can also be modified and used as a polymorphing attack on others. Several centuries ago, the notorious spellslinger Darshult the Mage, who made a career of challenging mages, defeating them in spell combat and then seizing all their magic, which was particularly common back in Netheril, was turned into a wingless wonder by a sorceress, Helera Sundil, after losing a sorceress duel to her in Baldur's Gate. After Darshult's fate became widely known, it was, for a time, quite a fad to imprison enemies in wingless wonder form. It was trending. The infamous rebel mage Thiril Godip, a drow mage who rebelled against the dictates of the ruling priestesses in his city, was forcibly imprisoned in wonder form, and presumably is still a helpless, ridiculed prisoner. You never know. And also there's the drow wizard known only as the Watch Spider Wizard, and he was known to have taken refuge in wonder form to elude a Yochlol summoned and sent by an angered priestess to slay him. Several human mages historically used this transformation, including Ozira 12 Stars of Tether and Brondeth of the Broken Staff. They survived somewhere in the Underdark, escaping in wonder form from death at the hands of drow attackers who overwhelmed the human mining community they were guarding at the time. In Menzoberranzan, the drow wizards Tailbone Fantaleba and Master of the Academy Deathless Tuntal are known to have escaped the justice of Lolth by taking wonder form, and they were in the vicinity of Menzoberranzan when Adreth Mesrim, matron of her house at the time, received a fatal surprise when she casually lashed a chittering wonder out of her path during a hunt, and then it snarled and unleashed a meteor swarm that fried her and most of her family around her. When the drifting smoke thinned, the blackened wonder was seen by the astonished drow survivors, standing unconcerned amid the cooked carnage, having survived the full-blown damage of its own spell. It just sighed and shuffled away. So, yeah, that was a famous incident, and to this day the drow stop and think about interfering with a wingless wonder going about its business. Surface world wizards have developed spells that specifically polymorph a foe into wonder form, and the drow priestesses of the Underdark also use a spell to work the same effect, which keeps the wizards alive in case their power is needed, but as vulnerable, helpless, non-threatening things. Being so entrapped cannot speak, although they can use sticks to write or draw symbols with their tentacles. They can only chitter as natural wonders do. Lacking any means to work spells or effectively communicate with others, such unfortunates are trapped, although they retain their true intelligence and knowledge. Existence as a wonder may drive the victim insane. A trapped being can always by force of will unleash a wonder's natural random magical effect, but has no control over what that effect occurs. The only way to free a being trapped in wonder form is during the once daily round in which they unleash a wild magic effect. During this round, the anti-magic shell becomes visible, flickers visibly. The dispel magic, remove curse, or a properly worded polymorph spell cast at the wonder during this round will return the being to its true form. You could try this possibly on any wonder that you find. It may just happen that they are a transformed wizard who will be highly thankful. Special thanks to Ed Greenwood for the names of the drow in this, which gave me enormous troubles. Please hit that like button if you made it this far. Subscribe if you like what I do. Check out my Subscribestar or Patreon links for the full scripts for these videos. Buy some Teespring merchandise. Wear your geek with pride. And as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.